Well, hey, good morning, children. How's everything going this morning? Yep, maybe it's not morning for you, time you get around to listening and watching this thing, but it is for me. This is early in the day. Well, not too early today, around 5 o'clock. A lot of times I'm up at 3, you know. I like those early times of the day. You know, you get yourself up and running when it's relatively quiet out there. Quite often the sky is about as full as it gets that time of day. If you're going to see activity in the sky, that's when you see it, is when you start out with the day, that early time, 3 in the morning, you know. And so on and so forth. Energy's just clearer that time of day because most of us are sleeping. For myself, I've just woke up, you know, and I've had that night's rest, and whatever it was I went to sleep with, it's over with. I processed it when I went to sleep, before I went to sleep actually, and then I had some time to go through it, sleeping it off more or less, maybe process it in a dream, maybe go out and do a little soul travel, whatever it is that you do when you're sleeping. You, when you awaken, you start with a fresh slate, basically. Now, you know, yesterday's thoughts may be right on you again this morning, might cause a little tension, so on and so forth, you know, but when you're in a good space, it's a good time of day to be up, and you can just have those things put away from the night before, and you don't worry about them this morning. You deal with them later if you have to deal with them at all. Yeah. Now we know it's all love. Here in the early part of the day, we understand that the deeper feelings are always in motion here in this virtual reality, this life that we live in. And we're like feeling our way through it, because we've been unawakened. We've been put in a place where we don't see or feel that deeper love, that connection with life in the way we used to. We interpret life as something contained inside of this cage we call ourself, this body, you know, and that's where we feel it. Life. We feel it in the warmth in our bones, you know, we feel it in our hands. We feel it when we're doing things. We feel the wind whipping past our ears when we're riding the bike down the old highway. Things like that. We feel in those moments when we're making love. A lot of feeling there. We feel. But even then, those feelings are blocked. A lot. We've you know, because we don't see the deeper side of our love, then we're in a place where physical is all that seems to exist, even though we can feel beyond it. Some of us that are gifted, many of us nowadays, can feel beyond the body. We can feel other people's energy. We can feel the energy of animals and of menacing things in the air and of the love of trees and so forth. That's why there's tree huggers, people that actually feel that. But it's still pretty limited. We still bring it back to the interpretation we have of it instantly inside of this person, this physical person that has hands and a heart and, you know, bones and blood and things like that. All a nice little self-contained vessel. This is it. This is what we are. This is what we interpret ourselves as. Except that, you know, there's those that think of spirit as being something separate from ourselves, yet that is a part of us. That, you know, what you call spiritual energy or soul or things like that. So there are those that address things outside of the body in religions and so forth, philosophies, and just in everyday rap with all the New Age stuff. But here we are still interpreting that from this existence, and everything about this unseen world, this unseen life that we know to be love because we can feel it, and the deeper love that motivates us to go through this life, everything beyond that seems as if it's something separated from us. Well, we're going to find out how it is to feel the real love, because you felt some of it here coming through. You felt it in many special moments in your life if you've been much of a searching person, and most of us that are born into these generations are. Some just more motivated than others to make that search, to find what it is you really are and why our feelings are so limited, why they're limited to just sex and bones, stuff like that. Eating, that's a big one. We feel our food. We like it hot. Oh man. You know, it's all about the physical pleasure. And then the spiritual existence as it's interpreted in the physical person. Okay. Now there have been those rare beings that have been able to put the two together, to step out of the virtual world, this place that we call Earth, this person that we see as ourselves. There have been those in the historical past which have actually got to such a point of union inside that they don't feel that separation any longer. Yet they're still here in the virtual world. They still allow the physical person to exist, even though they're merged with what we call spirit, which is the other world, which is the world outside of the virtual world we live in, you know, and seems to be separate from us. But there have been those. And when they get to those places, and these are rare people, but they do it, and not all of them are known about. There's only a couple of three that are really known about, that are talked about, and of course that being legend and coming through history, and the stories have changed greatly, so you don't really get a true story about anything or anybody until you start looking inside, and then you start finding out what truth is, and you can determine that, wow, most of what we've been told in history is a fable, a lie, sometimes a deliberate lie, many times, because there are those who like to manipulate. They feel so empty. They have to feel like they have to manipulate and control others and get them to do what they want them to do. They think, we think, you know, because we're working through them kind of people too. Sorry, but that's just the way it is. Ah, man. But anyway, those rare beings that get it together and still remain here, at least for a while, really hadn't got it together. I mean, they are living in spirit. They are fully aware of their heart. But the energies of separation, the game hadn't progressed to the level in those days, because of time, that they could fully appreciate and understand and be that being inside and outside of this virtual world at the same time, and understand there really isn't a separation. We've softened this one up so we could live through some pretty severe stuff, get through the agony, to understand and know what that was. We couldn't really create it, but yet we have in this virtual world. So we see ourselves here as coming in and going out, you know, and even then we're still stuck in the virtual world. Like I talked about that a while ago. you understand how that works. So these beings that were able to merge with spirit in the past still had a limited view of it. And that's why they couldn't stick around any longer or be visible anymore, because you come to a point where there is no separation. You can pop in and out as you please. So you fake yourself a little death and then you begin to influence from behind the scenes. Now that's what happens to most of them. Some of them went elsewhere and are working on other things, but they created an energy, these beings that came before, and were able to feel and live the deeper love that creates us, to really feel life as not just flesh and blood, but as light and love and spirit, which is the expression of that love that creates. Wow. Deep stuff this morning, babies. Getting right down to the nitty-gritty here. But I tell you, it's amazing, those beings, because they were born in some pretty severe circumstances, and had to make it in a time when hardly anybody knew their light, It's a little easier now, because the more people that carry the light, the more people that begin to get it, then the more easy it is for you to understand. It just creates energy. It's the interconnectedness. Then the 100th monkey syndrome, where when the 100th monkey out of a tribe of 10,000 or so begins to practice a certain behavior that 99 others have already, it becomes a common behavior throughout the tribe. Well, us human monkeys, very similar, energetically. The more that are participating in the light, the closer we are to union for us all. And the easier it is to understand these things, because others have opened the doors. That's why these beings have come in at certain points in history. And in some instances, they've come back from the future. A little complicated, but they've come back from the future to be that being they are in that time, so they can get it in that time, and therefore change the course of human history and create a different future. See, it's all pretty flexible. But we've done that. Some of those beings, I'm thinking about like the one they call the Christ, Jesus, and Buddha. Yeah, those two. Prophet Mo to a certain extent. Moses. I call him Mo because he's kind of a pet of mine. But anyway, those beings in particular, I'm pretty certain, are those that have come back from the future. But you understand, and they might have a little pre-programming, and it helps them do it, because you really need some help in dark times, to get through and to find the light. So they did it, but they did it unconsciously. They come in just like anybody else. They're born from their mother's womb, and they begin to forget and absorb the world around them and become that. And then they have to find that love, that self again, and bring it back in. And they do it from the same point everybody else does. Unconsciousness. The inability to see inside of yourself, to know what you really are, to feel it, you see. And because these are really gifted beings, they were able to do it. They were able to understand what nobody else could understand in the time, and to share it. But even that view was limited. But it steps, see, all throughout human history. In the background, there's been these steps going on that elevate us, that bring us from a point where we began in somewhat total unconsciousness as just these little human animal slaves, and grew from there. And of course, we were much more enlightened before that. We chose this state for ourselves. Nature of the game. We wanted to experience it. And we needed to bring our brothers back to us. It had gotten fractured away. Brothers means both genders. It's an all-inclusive term. A brotherhood is a unit of beings that work in a specific direction, that carry a specific aspect of the heart and keep things together in that aspect. And there's brotherhoods throughout what we call the spiritual realm, which is our real life. And it's also what we call family. You know, energetic beings of the same vibe. If you can dig it, tribe. So they've set the steps. And then behind the scenes there's been lots of other stuff going on. Lots. That brings us to this point where we are today in the early 2000s here, where we can begin to reassemble with all the brotherhoods, with everybody that really is with the true life, when we can step out of the virtual game in a sense. But what we really do is just, you know, get back together with ourselves. It's a union. And then we see the virtual world we created, accept it as a part of our aspects, and move on from there. It's called ascendancy. I call it real love. Now, you know, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, you know, we had all these love stories kicking around. And man, you know, all of the music was about love. They, you know, and then finally, you know, in the 70s, when things were getting more enlightened, along come Jackie DeShannon and Dionne Warwick singing about what the world needs now is love, sweet love, you know. And we were taught that, you know, through this culture. Of course, that was a little bigger concept of it. Rare in those times, I tell you. But we were taught that love is something that is expressed between two human beings or more, you know, a family unit and so forth. That this is where your love goes. This is who you are. And that's what love is, you know. Well, a lot of us are disappointed with that kind of love. We have the best you can get. We're very blessed. We find a good woman or a good man to live with. And you know, we practice the whoopie-doopie, and we make babies and do the things that are prescribed for us, you know, and think we're following our heart. And a lot of people get bitter about it because it ain't what it's supposed to be. It's very different. It can be unique and special. It can be a very beautiful thing. But until you've reconnected with your heart in here, to be quite honest with you, there is no way you can experience another person that deeply. It doesn't happen. The love between couples is a fiction. It's a way to keep us going, to give us something to motivate us, to practice some truth. Not that you don't love that person, of course you do, but it's just one aspect of love. You get it? We can go a lot further than this, human beings. We can. And that's what we're here to do, to put into practice. In this day, in this age, in this time which completes the experience of that time, and puts an end to this cycle of life and death, of coming into physical form and feeling it so densely, and then departing into death. When you no longer feel and your body no longer functions, and your heart stops and your brain stops, and you think it's all over, and you think that person, you feel separation. I don't care how spiritual you are, unless you're a very gifted person. When somebody near you dies, somebody you care about dies, you feel the separation, and there's an agony that goes with it. You know, there's also a joy for those that understand, because they know they're going to reunionate with the rest of the gang, and things are all going to be all right. But you don't see them anymore. Some rare occasions they come back and visit. Sometimes they haunt you because they were obsessed with you. Whatever, you know. I mean, there's every given kind of person here you'd ever want to create, and there's a lot of weird things go on because of it. But we're here to understand all that now. We're here to move beyond that sense of separation. You want love, you want your twin flame, you want your heart, you want to live the truth, you want to be a full, happy, and complete person. Well, here's where you start. Inside of you, and me too. We're all the same. You know? And you got to go inward now. And you've got to, like, spend some time alone in nature, as I've encouraged you to do before. And in your closets, wherever you have to go to get yourself some quiet time for yourself. And keep tuning in. Because then, and when I say tune in, that means close your eyes, feel your heart, give thanks inside for all those that help you. Feel the presence in the center of the forehead. Look at it from inside of yourself. And go deep. This is a magic gateway to the spirit realm, right here. This is where the virtual and the reality connect. So it doesn't take strong focus. That tends to be hypnotic, though you can do it that way. You can do it any way you choose. Just go there, you know, and feel that. This was taught me by the spotted eagle quite some time ago. You feel the love, the radiation between your palms of the hand, and the center of the forehead. You just notice. You set them down here in your lap somehow. A lot of people like to do this thing, sitting there like that, you know, like that, with the little finger around like that, you know. I don't know. Personally, I just like to feel it in the palms of my hand. That's what was taught me by the spotted eagle. And there come a time, rather instantly, with the spotted eagle, where there was suddenly a rainbow triangle between the center of my forehead and my hands. A rainbow in a big triangle, which was really a pyramid. The triangle is what you see, what you feel. And that kind of activated me. And since then, you know, that's how I tune in. It's combining the energies between the hand, the third eye, and the heart, more or less. It's all a big circle that's represented by what they call a tetrahedron, a pyramid on top of a pyramid, you know. That's what you sometimes see. You'll see all kinds of things. But this is when you start to go deep and to understand where that love is, and begin to realize that it is inside of you and everything around you too, and that in truth, as you go deeper, there's no separation. That we've chosen this experience, and that it's become our reality because we needed to feel it. We're just babies, guys. Even though we're ancient as all get out, time-wise, we're just babies. We're learning how to be what we truthfully are. And the only way to really get that from the heart is to separate yourself from it for a while. To feel what pain is. To know the loss of separation, of death. The joy of birth. Say it's joyful. Personally, I think it's a little hairy. You know, I mean, you get squoze into this place of pain, suffering, and silver in your eyes, and baby, you're rocking. Yeah, right. Wow. Whew. We've got a lot more to understand, guys, but we're getting there. Just hang in. So now you begin to see how it is we can transcend the cycle of life and death and practice real love between us. And it might start with two. It's kind of like the soul finding its soul, but it's like the center of an atom. It's the beginning of that creation, and it builds outwards from there, and there's other little atoms, and it's not in this extended way where it all goes out linearly down through the generations in the way we've done in the past. It's a different way of being. And we'll see past the illusion of birth and death, because we won't any longer see life as a thing separate from us. And that's truth. That's where we're headed. We're here to transcend the death and bring it back to life. Here to end the ideas and concepts of separation. So where do you begin? You tack out there? No. That's the old way of doing things. And it doesn't really get much done other than continue a lot of cycles of viciousness. No. Right in here. So this is where we're going to go next time I communicate with you. We're going inside this place. Together, I'm going to let you inside, quote, quote, me. Let you see and know the energy. To see the humanity, the human being, as something not separate from God or the universe or creation. To experience and understand that. You're getting it right now. It's coming to you. This series is designed by the universal heart to help you come to this state. So each one of them has a little energy, a special energy, that aids those that are watching it to tune in, to become another, gain another level. So it just seems like an old man ranting and raving in the morning and drinking coffee. But it's an experience in truth. A reality that even as I speak it and share it with you, coming into my being as well. See, I was born to do this, to be this, to share this. Just to help y'all see that you were too. We're in this together. We're not separate any longer. And it's time to begin to understand that. And because you understand it, put it into practice. And guess what? We've changed everything. Talk about revolution. And there's not even a gun here, let alone a fight. Coming to take you away, ha ha. We're there, babies. We're right that close as a unit of creation to catching it, to getting to where those few beings in the past got, as a people, human beings, consciousness, awareness. I know there's a lot of bullshit goes on out there, but there's an element of truth, a reality in it all, and there's a motivation behind it that's pure as all get out. So it don't matter where you've gotten it. Grab onto that bit of truth that you understand and let it grow. Put it right here in the center of yourself. Feel the warmth of it. Let it grow. And you come to deeper levels, and you see why there can be lies and illusions, and that it's not such an evil thing. It's created as experience. It's life. Death is fear personified. It's an unusual thing when you consider it and contrast it to all of existence, where lives are lived much differently than we do here. It's a chosen experience. Want to know yourself? Leave yourself. What's the old saying? If you really love something, let it go, and if it loves you, it'll come back. Well, of course. We knew that when we started this. You know? It's just a different aspect. It goes way beyond what we know as romantic. You know, that was kind of a false love to begin with. And that's why people misunderstand and misapply it and have such violence and between themselves and so forth. Because when you start to realize that you ain't getting it that way, it's only a little bit of it, that it was only a beginning, a way to let you know what's really possible. But when you start to see that it's not the answer that it's been held up to be, you do tend to get pissed and bitter. You know, people do that. But we're here to help you see and understand something way beyond that. To take that loneliness that drives us together and apart and go right to the center core of it and see what that's telling us. So before you watch the next in this series, I want you to kind of prepare yourselves, if you'd be so kind, please. Just practice some form of meditation. Feel inside of yourself. Those of you that are very awake, just open. You know what I mean. Just feel it. Open. Practice it. Get this energy flowing between your forehead and your hands. You'll also feel another circle going this way from the root chakra on up. You see, and from the feet on up, and from the sky on down. It just, just let it begin these energy cycles. Amplify them if you already have them. And feel the opening of your heart. And know that you are beginning an experience in truth, that you're about to understand what could not be understood before this time. The rules of the game have changed, thank goodness. And now we can see what remained unseen to most throughout all of the generations, yet was always a part of us, and was there very active within it. There was never a time of separation, ever. We just chose to see that other as invisible for a while, and create something opposite, kind of. Yeah, we just decided to do that as a group of souls, as a brotherhood. That this was our time to experience and to bring that other brotherhood that had slid away over the edge, hadn't quite gotten it, bring them back here with us. And that's how we got the Kundalini energy in us. The little serpent. Most of you may not see or understand that just yet, but it's part of it. But again, remember, it's a game. You're playing a role. So when we talk about things like this, we're talking about aspects of the role that lead to the completion of the movie and the beginning of real life again. When you take off the costumes and the makeup and you step out on the street and go down to the coffee shop and get a cup of coffee and start to gather yourself back into yourself and become who you are. Ta-ta for now, kids. I love you. Oh, man. It's a beautiful day. Indeed. So, forgive me if I put my glasses on here. I gotta see the stupid cursor. I can't see it without them. Dang, I tell you. Old age. Oh, no. Did you see the bony finger of death tapping on my shoulder? I don't either. I think we're going to be all right. Catch you later, babies.